I want to address someone that is brewing so much hatred in America. So let's pull up the queen of hatred. Let's pull up the hypocrite. Let's pull up Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer has not rested in trying to project and make people pay attention to Muslims, when really, if we look at the policies in America, really who's running things, who's paying for things, who's lobbying for things, who controls social media and all this other stuff, it's really her camp of people. So let's start with her background. Let's look at who we should be taking advice from. Laura Elizabeth Loomer is an American far-right political activist and a conspiracy theorist and an internet personality. She was born in Tucson, Arizona. Loomer has worked as an activist for several organizations, including Project Veritas, The Geller Report, Rebel News, and InfoWars. She has described herself as being a pro-white nationalist and a proud Islamophobe, repeatedly making racist and anti-Muslim statements in public settings. She currently hosts a show, Loomer Unleashed, streaming weekly on Rumble. Loomer has gained notoriety as a result of being banned from numerous social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, payment processors, vehicles for hire, and food delivery mobile apps for various reasons, including violating policies on hate speech and posting misinformation. Now, I, as someone who does support the First Amendment, who absolutely hates what Laura is saying, I would have to guess, I think she's paid to push these opinions to distract from what's been going on in the Middle East, from what's been going on with the targeting of her people. But I don't think people should be banned and lose their rights to bank and lose their rights to post. I believe when someone wants to be full of hate, let them expose themselves. I'd rather see what they have to say. I think it's much safer to not block people that are preaching hatred so everyone can see who they are. I'd rather have it out in the open instead of them working behind the scenes to create hatred and division. So I don't think banning anyone is ever the solution. And I would also argue that there needs to be an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Imagine a Muslim defending Laura Loomer's right to preach hatred against the very faith that I love and practice. Because I know, as someone who lost his family because of communism, whose family was killed in the Kosovo War because they did not have the First Amendment right to exercise free speech, which is so crucial and so important as an American, that I would defend the right for Laura Loomer, even if she's preaching hatred against my faith, because I do believe in what the First Amendment should be. It should be she says what she says, and then someone like me can push back against her and just show you how fucking evil she truly is. And that, in my opinion, she is an agent of chaos to distract you from the real issues as Americans. You know, it's funny. The right, for many years under the Trump administration, all they ever wanted us to do was believe that the mainstream media is fake news. And for the most part, I do believe that. Controlled by corporations, pushing certain agendas. We all heard what Mark Zuckerberg said. During the 2019 shutdown, he was pressured by the White House to censor opposition to the treatments that they were trying to force on every American and person around the world. So we know that it's corrupt. We know that they push agendas, and we know that they play and influence the media. But it's so funny. Fake news for everything, except if Muslim Americans tell you, hey, the way the media is painting us, the way they're gathering 2 billion people, one of the largest faiths in the world, soon probably the largest faith in the world, a religion that compromises every single nationality and group and race on earth. I myself of European descent, Caucasian. I've met Muslims that are Colombian, Chinese. All you're doing is proving that you guys are liars, you're full of hatred, and you operate from a place of ignorance. Fake news for everything else, but if the Muslims say, hey man, this is not what my religion teaches. In the last couple of weeks, we've seen a shift from the focus on the war in the Middle East to Shariah's taking over America. Sharia law is taking over America. This is straight propaganda. They're literally stirring the pot to create hatred. It is nothing more than a distraction. As our national deficit skyrockets to not only all-time highs in American history, in the history of the earth, there's never been a nation more in debt than ours. The clock is ticking. They need a distraction. And what do they use? Their classic blame the Muslim boogeyman. Fake news for everything else.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
When it's convenient for them. But if we push back, it's the truth, I guess. It's only fake news when they need it conveniently.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
Back to Laura Loomer. We should call her Laura Doomer. Was the Republican nominee to represent Florida's 21st congressional district in 2020 United States House of Representatives, losing to Democrat Louis Frankel. She also ran in the Republican primary for Florida's 11th congressional district in 2022. Okay, she's just a loser. Donald Trump sought to hire Loomer for his presidential campaign, but his senior campaign advisor successfully discouraged Trump from doing so. By September 2024, some of Trump's supporters and others had expressed concerns about Loomer's continuing presence around influence on Donald Trump. During the second presidency of Trump, Loomer emerged as an influential actor, using her social media platform to call for the firing of officials she deems insufficiently loyal to Trump. And in early 2025, reports emerged that Loomer influenced President Trump to dismiss more than half a dozen national security officials due to her suspicions of their disloyalty to him, and advocated for additional filings. Let's get into her early life. Let's see what's up here in her brain. Laura Elizabeth Loomer was born in Tucson, Arizona in May of 93. She happens to be Jewish. How convenient. She happens to be Jewish. Big war in the Middle East. 25 years of war. Take a world faith. By the way, only 19% of Muslims are Arab. So if you just hate Arabs, I mean, I feel sorry for you. Some of the nicest people I've ever met are Arabic. But if you think that all Muslims are Arab, 19%. They're not even the majority. Just thought you should know that. I know every movie you've seen is some Arab guy going, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Because what better way to dehumanize an entire population, to justify unjustifiable wars that have plunged our nation into utter debt? As someone that walked out from underneath the World Trade Center the day it was hit in 2001, and seeing our country invade nation after nation, leaving Afghanistan with more weapons than we found them after 20 plus years of war and destruction and debt, and nothing for the construction of the American nation, nothing to rebuild our country, only to destroy all around the world. How convenient. How convenient. You still can't see it, to blame the Muslim boogeyman? The funniest thing is people on the far right who don't believe the official story of what happened on September 11th. Tucker Carlson released an entire series about it. The funny thing is, it still hasn't caused them to stop. They don't believe the official story of September 11th. A lot of these right-wingers, like extreme right-wingers, yet they still haven't lost their hatred of Muslims. Well, if you believe that they didn't do that, and I'm not saying it one way or the other, I'm just saying if you're one of these extreme rights, why do you still hate Muslims? Loomer and her two younger brothers were raised in Arizona. She stated that she grew up in a very violent household. Sounds like a lot of trauma. Primarily because her younger brother suffered from mental illness. Her parents broke up when she was 12, divorced, and she sent to a boarding school shortly thereafter. She attended Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts. Leaving after one semester, she said she felt targeted for being conservative. And if I'm not mistaken, there was some pretty significant parts in her life where she was, I think, committed, if I'm not mistaken. I think she was committed. I don't know where the part is, but not a great background. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe there was a brief episode where she was committed to an institution. You guys can look it up. Our country's collapsing, and they want you to worry about 1.3% of the population. There are literally only 1.3% of the population in America are Muslims. It's insane to me. Absolutely insane to me. 1.3%. That's it. So is it a threat? Are we a threat? Are we a threat? Are we a threat, really? Are we? Are the Muslims a threat to America? Or is the media telling you to worry about this community? No one bats an eye. No one bats an eye when we go to certain, enclaves, as we'll call them, right? It's what makes America beautiful. All these different ethnicities. No one has a problem if you go to Chinatown, right? I mean, shit, are the Chinese taking over? I mean, we saw clashes the other day with federal agents. They were getting pretty violent. I mean, should the Chinese be raided too? I mean, shit, if we go to Chinatown in New York City, and there's Chinatowns all over the country, all the street signs, everything is in Chinese. Is that not a danger? I mean, is it only, I guess, Muslims don't have the right to have enclaves, I guess? All the time they say China's a threat. You guys don't seem to have a problem. I don't have a problem with Chinese Americans. As a matter of fact, without the Chinese, the railroads in America would have never been built. It was one of the most important infrastructure projects in the history of America, making us a superpower, connecting coast to coast. I celebrate our diversity. It's what's made us strong. But why is it when the Muslims want an enclave, it's a big deal? They act like only Muslims are doing this. Every other community in the United States of America has enclaves. It's what's made us a beautiful nation, celebrating each other's differences, cultures. I can go have some amazing falafel in Patterson, New Jersey, some beautiful hummus, But I guess, why can't they just admit you're full of hatred, you're racist, and all you want to do is try to blame the Muslims to justify your unjustifiable war? The American people are waking up. The blame the Muslim boogeyman is not going to work this time around. People are tired of it. People have started to figure out, well, how does the government work? We have congressmen and we have senators. Then there's people behind them called lobbyists. They spent $4 $1.2 billion lobbying American officials in 2024. And they use this money to influence decisions like going to war, what you eat, what they can put in your food. You know, the way you've been getting screwed for the last 50 years, basically. You know, like we sent our men and women to to Vietnam and Korea to fight against communism. And then Richard Nixon opened the door and Bill Clinton allowed China into the World Trade Organization. And next thing you knew, all of our industry went overseas because the American worker couldn't compete anymore. Was that the Muslims' fault? Did the Muslims come to America and allow all of your jobs, all of your industry to go to a communist country? However, this perceived threat of the Chinese for so long, no one batted an eye when they were building Chinatowns and Chinese restaurants on every corner. Yet you have people like Laura Loomer trying to take halal, which is the equivalent of kosher in her Jewish faith, where an animal is butchered in a humane fashion. Has nothing to do with sacrifice. We're not sacrificing every time we make halal meat. We're butchering the animal based on strict dietary restrictions, similar to the Jewish faith. Muslims are permitted to eat kosher meat, and they are commanded by God, if they don't have halal, they're allowed to eat kosher because it follows the same butchering practice as her own faith, the Jewish faith. These are the hypocrisies, bro. So Laura Loomer is a clown. Laura Loomer is a hate monger. Laura Loomer is, in my opinion, being pushed to push this agenda to distract the American people from the real issues. No one bats an eye if you go to Fort Lee, New Jersey, or Koreatown in Los Angeles. I love Koreans. I've grew up with them. Amazing human beings. Why is it that an industry that's dominated by a certain group of people, every film they make is to alienate and dehumanize an entire group of people? And if you think you haven't been affected by this type of messaging and propaganda, you're a fool. It's fake news for everything else.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
But it's not fake news when it comes to the Muslims. I would remind the American people that Morocco was the first country to recognize the United States of America, a Muslim country. Morocco also provided the first international trading port for the new birth country of America. How crucial it was to have foreign ports as a new nation, supply lines in the global market of that time. The Muslims have been the backbone of America in many ways. Up to 30% of African Americans that were brought here by force, Black Americans who were forced into slavery, who built this nation with blood, sweat, and tears, and being whipped and tortured and dehumanized for hundreds of years, many of them were Muslim in faith. The Muslims have been here since the beginning of this nation. Not by choice, not by free will, but by the whipping and the cracking of a whip by their slave masters. I remind the American people, there is no such thing as Sharia law in the United States of America. So when people like Laura Loomer talk about banning Sharia law, it would have to be the law for it to be banned. Now, if you want to ban Muslims from following their religion, then you might as well take the U.S. Constitution and rip it to pieces. This nation was founded by pilgrims who left Europe because Europe was killing each other. Different denominations of Christianity, Protestants, Catholics, were wiping each other out for centuries. Approximately up to 15 million people lost their lives in the European wars over religion. Both sides believed in Jesus, by the way. So when these pilgrims came, the Quakers, they came to America, and eventually the country formed. They decided to make that there would be no official religion, so everyone would have the right to practice their faith. That's really America in a nutshell. What does Laura Loomer waste her time on? Every single post. Why is the U.S. still not designated this terrorist? Let's look at some of her posts just in the last few days. Sharia laws in Florida and the Florida school system. This needs to be shut down ASAP. What about all the Jewish enclaves in Brooklyn? The Jews in Brooklyn, if you go to Brooklyn, New York, you go to Crown Heights, you're going to think you're in Tel Aviv. You don't even see people of other colors, just them. They have their own police, their own ambulances, their own schools. It's okay for your people, Laura Loomer. Why is it not okay for the Muslims? Because you say so? To not protect Muslim Americans, regardless of what nationality, race, or background or heritage you come from, I promise you will be the next. Whether you're Hindu, whether you're Buddhist, you let them do it to them, you're next. This is an attack on the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, freedom of religion, the essence of America. Period. So, what do they distract us with? Not that we just spent trillions of dollars, possible crimes against humanity overseas, a list of people that we were promised by our president that they never released. Sharia law is in Florida, and the Florida school system, this needs to be shut down. This is what they want you to focus on.
اللي ليها دعوه بالتعليم عموما، مش بس تعرف المعلومه، بس تعرف تطبق المعلومه،
تعيشها
وتبدع في المعلومه.
ايوه بتبدع فيها، فبالتالي هنا بيعملوا مجسمات، وكمان اصلا لما يشتغل
post after post after post. Here she is with Randy Fine. I bet you he gets a lot of money from a certain lobby group. Starts with an A. Let's look at her. Let's see what American people should be worrying about.
Your Sharia Act. I want to go through some of the specifics of the legislation. Do you have any plans to outlaw displays of Sharia law? So, for example, we have halal slaughter in places like Dearborn and Hamtramck. One of the issues that has become very prevalent is the sacrifice of animals in residential areas where Muslims will literally slice the throat.
Oh, you mean like your people do, Laura Loomer? Let's see about sacrificing animals just right out in the open. Let's see if like that happens anywhere else. And if it's a problem for you, like kind of like what they do here on Yom Kippur, they do this in the middle of Brooklyn, literally in the middle of Brooklyn. You don't hear the Muslims attacking you for that? That's your religious freedom. So only if the Muslims exercise their First Amendment, have a festival, pray outside, just like they do, just like the Jews do, just like everyone else does. They celebrate their culture, their heritage. No one bats an eye if the Italians shut down all of Mulberry Street for a saint, right? Saint Gennaro's feast. Beautiful thing. I've been to the feast. I've had a great time. Amazing Zeppelis, by the way. You got to go to the Saint Gennaro's feast. They march down with statues of the Virgin Mary, but everyone wants to say, well, it's a Christian nation. Well, it wasn't founded as one. No official religion. Secular. There's nothing Christian really much about America anymore. Certain lifestyles are not permitted in the Bible and in the Old Testament. You'll see churches displaying the flags, pushing those lifestyles, trying to teach your children things that are against your religion. You as Christians should be more concerned about that than the Muslims. The Muslims actually agree with you on much of your life. We agree on the rules of the Old Testament. We agree that you shouldn't kill people. We agree that you're supposed to obey the laws in the nation you live in. This is actually what the Prophet Muhammad taught us. Sharia law actually teaches you that if you live in a guest nation, you are to follow the rules and the regulations of that leader and that nation. And if you cannot live and follow your faith according to that nation's laws, which America perfectly allows people to practice their religion, but if you're not allowed to, then you're supposed to migrate and leave the nation. This hate mongering has done nothing except divide people and create hatred and led to the deaths of people here in America. Like when October 7th happened, you had a maniac in Michigan go and ring a doorbell and stab a 6 or 7-year-old kid it was in Michigan for no reason. That's what they want you to be distracted with. It's okay to slaughter kosher. It's okay for everyone else. But if the Muslims follow, which is basically kosher, okay, except we can have cheese. God wasn't that hard on us. He said you could actually have a hamburger with cheese on it. The way the animal is slaughtered is exactly the same as kosher. Exactly the same in that aspect as kosher. So in essence, she would want kosher banned too, I guess.
Of goats and other livestock animals for their, so-called religious celebrations. And then you have residential areas that are covered in animal carcasses and covered in guts and covered in blood.
Just like Brooklyn, just like Yom Kippur, chicken heads flying all over the place. Now, I agree. I don't think animals should just be slaughtered anywhere. I think it needs to be done in an area. I don't think they're doing it right on their front lawns. I mean, I don't know. I think sanitary, stuff needs to be followed. That's just my personal belief. But I don't know what the rules and regulations are. If you have a problem with this, Laura Loomer, then you know what? We got a problem with Brooklyn and chicken heads. Let us know.
And then additionally, in terms of the halal animal sacrifice in residential areas, and also like burqas and niqabs, do you have any plans in the No Sharia Act to ban the niqab, ban the hijab? And
so now Laura Loomer, who wants to tell women how they should be able to dress in America, it's okay if they want to be naked, but if someone wants to cover, and especially for religious reasons, Laura Loomer has a problem with that. Ladies, you let them come after the Muslims, you're next. Whether you agree with it or not, it's their right to choose if they want to cover or not cover. And if you're going to pass a ban against the hijab, Laura Loomer, are you going to ban it for the nuns also? Are they going to be forced to uncover, Laura Loomer? That doesn't sound too Judeo-Christian to me.
Ban the burqa. We just saw this weekend that Portugal banned the burqa from public places. Places like France, kind of crazy, right?
Make sure you ban face masks also, because it's covering their face. There's people still wearing them since 2019, Laura. They got hoodies on, face masks. They're robbing people left and right. So make sure you ban that also.
They've allowed themselves to be totally Islamified, yet the burqa is banned.
So this bill would not let you pass a law that said you have to wear a burqa. It wouldn't ban the wearing. So it says you can't create Sharia legal codes. But I think looking at a burqa ban and things like that is something that we should absolutely look into. That would just have to be a separate piece of legislation. Again, this bill
is
would
Representative
say,
Fine speaking.
Dearborn can't now come out and say everyone has to wear a burqa, or all slaughter has to be done halal.
But look at how stupid what they're. You can't see the game, the bait and switch here. Who the hell's trying to make it where everyone has to butcher halal? You got people that only want to eat organic food, so they go to Whole Foods, if it's even organic. Some people go to the regular supermarket. They don't care that there's all those GMOs and chemicals in their food. No one's trying to make everyone eat halal meat. It's just a preference. And I personally, when I don't get halal meat, I always try to find kosher if I can. So I always look for Hebrew National. You know, us New Yorkers, we love hot dogs. So if I can't find halal meat, I love Hebrew National. It's one of my favorite brands. I love the big long ass salamis that they sell at BJ's. I like to chop that meat up, little American yellow cheese on a nice roll, a little mustard, boom, I'm good to go. Love kosher meat. Very expensive, by the way. Even more expensive than halal.
That would be the imposition of Sharia law. The bill would not stop the practice of it. That would be separate legislation.
You can't stop people from observing their faiths. If you do this, America's finished. Wake up, Americans. Pay attention to this while we give it to you through the back and everything else. That's all this is.
Sense.
Would you be open to creating legislation for a nationwide burqa, hijab, and niqab ban?
Well, I think making people wear a full burqa is a problem. I mean, you don't know who they are. And I mean, look, I wear a kippah, so we have to be cognizant of the fact that different people wear different kinds of headwear. But
Oh, so he's also of the same faith. Okay, it all makes sense now. You know, Hasidic women shave their heads and wear wigs to cover, to respect their faith. Are we really going to start getting into these differences and start banning people from observing their religion in America? Really? I feel like we're going back into the 1960s, man. I feel like we just took 100 steps back as Americans. Unreal. Laura Loomer believes that the Islam is going to be the biggest issue of 2026 to 2028. It'll fracture our country if the GOP doesn't address it now. I promise you, anyone that has a half a brain knows that Islam is not the biggest problem in America right now. Our deficit of 38 trillion, wars, sending billions of dollars to nations across the ocean, our children being targeted, certain lifestyles being pushed on them. The right to express ourselves and free speech and censorship are the biggest problems in America right now. First and Second Amendment. That's the biggest problem. And this massive bubble that I believe is going to come toppling down very soon. The biggest bubble in the history of the world is about to pop, and they need a bad guy. Or maybe they need a war to justify it. That's what it sounds like. So this is all she focuses her energy on. Just literally post after post. And a lot of people on the right and a lot of Christians are waking up. You know, Muslims do respect Jesus Christ. They believe he was a miracle sent to humanity, born to a virgin mother who has her own chapter in the Holy Quran. They believe he spoke from the minute he was born. They believe he will come back to earth. Laura's people don't believe him at all. I mean, really, it should be Christian Islamic values, because we share more in common with the Christians than the Jews and the Christians have ever shared. And we actually have a much more in common. We believe he's coming back to earth. I've said this many times on the record. I, as a Muslim, wish we were a Christian nation. I wish, instead of the laws we have, we were operating by the code of the Old Testament and the Bible, where certain lifestyles couldn't be pushed on people and we were following God's commandments. I'm all for it. I, as a Muslim, would look at that being a massive upgrade to morality in our nation. I wish we were a Christian country. I really wish we were a Christian nation and we were operating by Christianity. I know a lot of Muslims feel that way also. But God is not first in this country, which is why I think we're heading towards our own destruction. We're not trusting in God anymore. We're trusting in evil is what we're trusting in. We're not following even our own rules anymore as Americans, the Constitution. That's kind of where we're at. I just wanted to address the hypocrisy. No one has a problem when any other community does it. You don't hear them saying anything about other cultures. Look at this in New Jersey. Look at this. I mean, no one said anything when the Hindus opened up a massive temple in the middle of New Jersey. I'm talking massive. You're going to think you're in New Delhi. You didn't see any protest. Why is it that the media only targets Muslims? Why is that? It's fake news for everything else. It's only real news when it comes to the Muslims.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, pushing against lies, hatred, and anything that divides humanity, and especially my fellow Americans. No one is praying for the downfall of this nation. We pray for its guidance. We pray that these endless wars end. We pray that people realize who's really controlling things, who's paying for it, which lobbyist groups push these disgusting things on our children, chemicals in our food, stop us from speaking on the internet. There needs to be an amendment to the First Amendment, which classifies social media as the new public space. It is actually time for an upgrade to the US Constitution. We need a new amendment ratified, but they'll never do it. Congress and Senate will never do it. Social media has too much influence. It is a place that we have already experienced censorship. It is a place that people like Mark Zuckerberg have admitted that they were pressured by the White House to suppress any public discourse or debate about our own health. What a dangerous time it's been in America since 2019. But you should worry about the Muslims. Don't worry about the people that control these social media companies and them silencing you and censoring you. Worry about the Muslims, Americans, because they're the ones coming for your First Amendment. They're the ones coming for your Second Amendment. They're the ones that are trying to inject you with certain things. Wake up, Americans. It's real news for everything else. It's fake news
It's
for
all
everything
fake
else.
news. It's phony stuff.
So who's influencing your opinion? You're a slave, Neo. And the sooner you realize it, the better you'll be. If you enjoy content like this and you want more of it, make sure you hit the subscribe channel. Follow us on the Sunny Fast channel. But in any event, I got to get on with my Saturday. Thank you for watching. It's been a beautiful special edition of the Bek Lover podcast live right here. I'll see you next time, friends. Until then, get the hatred out of your hearts. Life shouldn't be this evil. We can do better as Americans. I truly believe it.